I would probably say to enjoy the game,
Mm.
and enjoy playing with your teammates, but also enjoy playing against the other team.
Mm.
I mean, you might defeat them or beat them badly, but still be a man enough to congratulate them or thank them for the abilities that they have. I mean, you're not going to always be a winner, and we weren't always a winner, but be a man about losing.
Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Brown, author of the book Uncommon Athletes, Filled with Passion, Fueled by Purpose. I'm excited to have with me with a young man whose story that I just came across. I'm a graduate of Ohio University. I was at OU, and he received an award for being a trailblazer. And I didn't know the whole story when he started talking about back in the day how the Bobcats made it to Elite Eight in 1964 season, and he was averaging almost 25, 30 points a game. He was getting buckets back there, and I didn't even know about all that. So I'm excited to be able to share this story with everybody else. So I'm blessed to have with me today, Brother Jerry Jackson, fellow Bobcat. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, this is going to be great for me. Just going down memory lane with you and then getting the real deal. Back to those days, when did you begin playing basketball? Did you grow up playing other sports, or was it just basketball?
No, I grew up playing other sports, baseball, ran track in high school, and was on the baseball team. Now, our school was small, so we didn't have football. But I started playing basketball in about the 7th grade, I think it was. Yeah, the town that I grew up in was real small.
Mm.
I know the population right now is about 34.
Okay.
But the population back then is a coal mining town.
Okay.
It was probably close to 200.
Mm.
But that's still small.
Right.
But I started playing basketball. It was predominantly black school,
Mm-hmm.
and the coach Jesse Roberts got a team together, the junior high team, and we didn't have a gym to practice in, so we practiced in the hallway.
Okay.
Dribble the ball up and down the hallway, and I think it was 1955.
Mm-hmm.
Our junior high team won the Perry County Championship.
Okay.
Even though we didn't have a gymnasium to play in.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting, exciting.
Yeah.
During that era when you were playing back in the 50s and started playing, what would you say the difference about the game then compared to today?
I would say that the difference today's athletes playing ball is they're much stronger. Mm-hmm. And they can leap higher. Mm-hmm. Because they're on weight programs.
Yeah.
They have good weight programs. I know we never had a weight program in high school or even in college. I mean, we might lift a few weights here and there, but my high school coach, we didn't have the weight program, but he had me to wear a vest filled with sand. Mm-hmm. And jumping back and forth over a bench.
Okay.
Before practice every night. Mm. And that increased my jumping ability. That helped out a lot. I never played center, but I jumped center.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had some hops back in the day, huh?
Yeah. Well, I realized that I wasn't bad at basketball. I think in about my 9th grade year of high school. because after my junior high days, we went to a different school for your 9, 10, 11, 12, and I made the freshman squad, but I was good enough to dress for the varsity.
Okay.
The coach said I was good enough. I think there was only one other freshman that played on the varsity at that time. And about midway through the season, we got a lot of playing time because some of the players left the team. So that gave me an opportunity to play a lot more. And especially when I got from 10th grade on, I was a regular starter, and I led the team in scoring for 3 years in a row.
That's good stuff there. Even as we talk to young people today about athletics, can you talk about why education was so important to you and your family?
My family, if I hadn't gotten a 4-year scholarship to a school, I would have never gone to college. I had plans of going into the Army and probably making a career of it. But in education, when all these schools started calling me and coming around and telling me what they would do for me, I took advantage of that because of my grandmother wanted me to continue on school, and my mother. See, I grew up my mother was a single family. Grew up with a mother, but not a father. There were 4 of us. I was the oldest, and I became I was the first one to go to college in my entire family. Aunts, uncles, no one went on to further their education. But I took advantage of that, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I had all the Big Ten schools were after me, and Fred Taylor came to my hometown to a banquet and tried. Well, he brought. I think you remember Jerry Lucas and Havlicek, and well, he brought 2 players with him.
Wow.
To try to convince me to go to Ohio State. But there was a alumnus that owned a hardware store there in Corning where I went to school. And he talked to me for about 2 years in a row. Plus, he brought the coach up from Athens, plus Bunk Adams. Buck Adams was the star back in the late 50s, and 1 year, he left there in the 60s, 1960. And then this guy that owned the drugstore took me to Athens to watch a couple of games and to talk to the coach afterwards and to talk to Bunk Adams afterwards. And the funny thing, I wanted to go there because it was close to home, and my grandmother also wanted me to go to OU because it was close to home. Plus, she liked the way the coach talked. She said he was a fair guy, church-going guy, so she wanted me to go there because I could get back and forth if necessary.
So it sounds like in this whole process, how important family is or was back then. Talk about your family a little bit and why they were so important, instrumental.
It was very important. Education was a step up from a big step up from most of the people in my hometown who worked in the coal mines. The coal mines were going down, so people were moving to Zanesville, Columbus, anywhere to find a job. And my mother knew and my grandmother knew that if I had an education, I could get a job practically anywhere, especially I wanted to go into teaching and coaching. And that's what I did. And I ended up in Zanesville, Ohio after I left college. Well, I left college early. I didn't graduate in '64. I was supposed to, but I got drafted early, so I left early.
Mhm.
And so when I made it through the exhibition season with the Pistons.
Mhm.
So after that, I came back to Zanesville. My wife and I had gotten married and got drafted into the service.
Mhm.
So after 2 years in the service, I decided to finish up my education right there in Zanesville. There was a branch, a Hawaii University branch.
Mhm.
So I finished up my education and I got a job there in Zanesville teaching. So I stayed there and then used the GI Bill to go on and get my master's.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I did that. My wife and I both got our masters about the same time, driving back and forth to Athens for certain classes.
Right. That's
But
awesome.
an education, today I was blessed. I'm happy, that I went to OU and that I did have the sense enough to go ahead and finish my education.
Mm.
Very important.
Yeah, it's a good word. We know during that time on campus, during the 60s, late 50s, 60s, when you were there, we know there weren't a lot of Black students on campus. So how did you handle that, being in Athens?
Being in Athens, I got along okay, even though there weren't many African Americans on campus. The ones that I forget the number, but I know I knew all of them.
Okay.
Everybody knew each other.
Right.
So we would hang out in the old Baker Center up there on campus, and there was a room called the Bunch of Grapes room, is where we would go, and they would play bid whist or just sit around and talk. I know we had another. And there wasn't a place in town that an African American could go to get a haircut. So, so we had a guy, Ron Folks from Columbus, played played football there, and he was our barber. He was the barber, so we'd go to him when we wanted a haircut.
Right.
And as far as partying, there were two places uptown where we did most of our partying as a group, and that was the Armory at the end of Court Street, and a place called the Dust Bowl, which was in the old. It was in an old hotel. I think years ago, I think it was owned by I forget his name, but he was Black. He and his wife started the. Gosh, I can't think of the name of that hotel, but there was a room upstairs, a big room.
Okay.
We had dances up there, and that's the way we got together. So the fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha, they threw a lot of parties. African Americans, if we wanted to party, that's where we went.
That's where we went. Good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a close-knit group there as well.
Oh yeah.
Close thing. Let's go to the basketball court now. Boy, you were a great scorer in college. Boy, you were putting up some great numbers there, and then most people don't know, I guess you led the Bobcats to the Elite Eight in 1964. You talk about that tournament. What was so special about that team?
I think what was so special about that team is that we were all friends. We came in we can't, as a freshman coming in,
Mhm.
I think that was one of the coach's top recruiting class,
Mm.
1960,
Mhm.
one of his top recruiting classes, because I remember he had the top player in the state that year, and Johnny Namsu out of Canton, plus another player on that same team. They won the state there, during that time. I think in 1959, Canton McKinley, I think it was.
Mm.
I think they won the state, but he recruited the two top players from that team. He recruited a guy called Paul Story from Xenia, who was a top player in the state. Don Hill, top player coming out of Cleveland,
Mm.
and myself, one of the top players in the state, at least the top 10 anyway, in scoring. I think at my senior year of high school, I had a 29-point average coming my senior year of high school. And then some other players, but we all got along real well, but by the time, I know we used to scrim. That was a time when there was a freshman team. We didn't play on the varsity.
Right, right.
You couldn't play on the varsity team, but we would scrimmage the varsity team. And by doing that, that helped our ability in basketball because they were good.
Mm.
I mean, the OU basketball team in the late 50s and the early 60s was one of the top teams in the MAC. I mean, they won the MAC, I know, in 1959 and in 1960.
Mm.
They won the MAC. And I know that my freshman year, they played Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And it was predicted before the season even started that OU had a good chance of beating Ohio State because they had a guy by the name of Howard Jolliffe and Bunk Adams on OU's team.
Okay.
Even though Ohio State had Jerry Lucas and I think Havlicek, Mel Noel.
Mel knows, yeah.
Yeah. But what happened before the season started, Howard Jolliffe got drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers.
Mm.
So he left school 1 year early
Right.
to join the Lakers.
Mm.
And everybody thought that if he had stayed, that he would have outplayed Lucas.
Mm.
I mean, he was that great.
Mm.
But it never happened. So, and plus another reason they played the Bobcats that year was because it was a dedication of a new gym.
Okay.
The gym was just opening up, so that was the dedication of the gym, and that was my first year down there to even play on the new gym.
New gym, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, your career ended up so well. You were inducted into the Ohio University Athletic Hall of Fame. What does that honor mean to you?
That meant a lot to me. I mean, that meant that it showed me how much they appreciated my ability to play there and to lead them in as far as we did in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I know during that year we set a total, I think it was like 17 records were broken that year. I think I was only the second African American to be inducted from basketball into the Hall of Fame. I think Bunk Adams did it before me, but Bunk Adams, at the end, he ended his career in 1960, and he broke the scoring record.
Okay.
And that was held there since 1942, I believe, or Frank Baumholz. But then my senior year, I broke Buck Adams' record.
Oh, wow.
So I had the scoring record for a while.
Mhm.
So it meant a lot for the way that our team got along together.
Mhm.
Is what made us. So I mean, we weren't selfish. There were, out of the 5 starters, 4 of us were in double figures.
Mhm.
We never know. I wasn't the leading scorer every game. I mean, there were one of 4 of us, were the leading scorers, and we all were in the double figure scoring anyway. And it's very close. I mean, sometimes I would leave. I had a bad night. Somebody would pick up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's teamwork there. That's teamwork there.
Yeah.
As we talk about, you alluded a little bit to your life after basketball, after playing basketball at university, getting drafted. And then I know you were a middle school teacher for over 3 decades, and you also coached a little bit. Talk about how your experience in basketball and maybe prepared you for that, and why you chose to coach and teach.
When I first went to Athens, they wanted me to go into the physical education department, and so that when I would graduate, I could become a coach. So when I first got there, I majored in phys ed, but I minored in industrial arts. But after my first year, I switched it. I enjoyed industrial arts and had phys ed as a minor. So when I got out and I started teaching in Zanesville, Ohio, they needed they just so happens they needed a industrial arts teacher rather. And so I had to do my student teaching at the school where I was to do my coaching and teaching. So they hired me before I finished.
Okay.
So I finished at the middle of the year, and I know it wasn't legal at the time,
Right.
but they gave me all that back pay from the beginning of the year up until January if I would go ahead and sign the contract to stay there and coach and teach. So that's what I did. I stayed there, 37 years. I was, into teaching, and the students loved my program. And I did some coaching there also. I know I coached there for at least 16 years, I think it was, basketball with just the 7th graders. Plus I did the 8th grade track, and we had a little baseball team I did also. But while I was there, I became pretty well known in the town of Zanesville, and then I was offered a job out at Ohio University's branch. So I started there, and my first year, we managed to win 18 games. So our names got out there, and so I was able to recruit from the different schools in the area.
Right.
So I started getting pretty good players there, and I know I was there for 12 years. The athletic director was also in Athens at the same time I was there. So he knew me. I didn't know him, but he knew me. And he was a tutor of some of the players on the basketball team. So anyway, he hired me, and I told him I'd stay for 3 years because I had just bought a brand new motorcycle and I wanted to get it paid off. So anyway, I started having a good time with the men that I were getting, and I ended up staying 12 years.
Wow.
And we set records. I know I had 4 seasons where we won 20 games or more, and that was the first time that they had ever won, 20 games at that level.
Hmm.
So, and I kept getting players that, I enjoyed them, and I just wanted to stay with them so that they until they finished their 4 years.
Mhm.
And I had at least, I would say, at least 8 of my players went into coaching after they left the branch college
Wow.
into different schools around the area.
Mhm.
So and whenever I would see them, it was always, coach this, how you doing? It's always, good when you're out, you see your ex-ball players and they appreciate what you've done for them and what you instilled in them as far as going on with their education.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment. As you were coaching and teaching, what were some of those life lessons that you wanted to impart to your players and students in the class? What were some life lessons?
Some life lessons. I would probably say to enjoy the game, enjoy playing with your teammates, but also enjoy playing against the other team. I mean, you might defeat them or beat them badly, but still be a man enough to congratulate them or thank them for the abilities that they have. I mean, you're not going to always be a winner, and we weren't always a winner, but be a man about losing. You can't win all the time, but you try the best you can. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win also. But don't be down on. Some players, they would get down on themselves or threaten to quit if things didn't go their way. But enjoy the game. I mean, this is a fun game.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons I got into the game of basketball, because in the early or mid 50s, I went to a movie and I saw the Harlem Globetrotters playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw how much fun they were having. And so I convinced myself I wanted to get out there and play and have fun and just enjoy the game, And I think that's what I did. I enjoy watching the game, watching players and listening to what they talk about. And some players, there's a difference. You can just about tell who's enjoying the game and who is in it for the money, who is in it for just the fact of playing basketball.
Just enjoy the game. That's a great testimony. Well, this has been a wonderful interview. So as we kind of round the corner,
Okay.
You're truly a trailblazer. There's no doubt about that.
Oh.
Well, what word of encouragement would you give to this younger generation?
Oh gosh. Get an education, please. If you have the ability to go to a school and play basketball, that's fine. Even if it's a small school, try and get an education out of it, especially if it's offered to you free. If you can get if you can get a scholarship to a small school, that's all right. The basketball is still round. The bucket's the same thing. The same height, 10 feet. Enjoy the game, but also make sure you get a good education, because you're not going to play basketball forever. There comes a time when you're going to have to get out into society and earn yourself a living. So that's what I would say. If you're good at playing basketball, get an education. Don't just think you're going to get into basketball and end up making all this money in the pros. Have a good backup.
Amen. Amen. Well, Jerry, I want to thank you for your time. This is
All right,
truly a
Tim.
rich interview, and I want to just thank you for being that example to us as young men. On being a family man. Raise your family, your wife, your children, and just being that example to us on what we and really setting a standard for us at Ohio University. You definitely set a standard for us. Kind of paved the way for those coming behind you. I got there in '77. And you guys already done the work when I got there. I just walked right in and just reap the benefits of all that.
Oh man!
But I want to thank you for that.
It was a good school. I enjoyed my years though there, and it has grown so much. And I'm always, my wife and I. That's where I met my wife, and whenever we go back, we always enjoy it. There aren't any professors around that we used to know, but there are some people there that we do know in our connections with the athletic department. Plus, I'm working in the process of working with the professor in the history department, doing history on the village that I'm from. So I'm still connected to the university in one way or another.
Once a Bobcat, always a Bobcat.
Always.
I want to thank you for your time.
Okay, Tim.
I want to remind persons to make sure you like the channel and subscribe so I can continue to broadcast it. So, Jerry, thanks for your time. Be blessed.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tim.
All right. Take care, man.